We recently did a piece of research, Gary, and that was around 2,500 executives in North America, Europe, and also the Middle East. Now, 250 of those were in the insurance industry, and it showed that 85% of insurance have deployed AI somewhere. But only 41% or so have really scaled it across function. Why is it that insurance is still struggling to move from isolated wins to getting some real enterprise value?
Thanks, Alex. I think the nature of heavily regulated industries like insurance, like banking, is to naturally be very cautious, take a more cautious approach to new developments, new technologies, and what might be considered to be kind of black box solutions. And so that nature of risk mitigation, first and foremost, before then looking at opportunities where AI, etc., can kind of help the industry, tend to come afterwards. So the approach is very much more of a test and learn, small pilots, and then build it up. I think things are changing a little bit. I think some of the boards that I sit on are starting to take a more programmatic approach to AI. I think it's in its infancy, and it's not across the industry, but certain more advanced thinking firms are starting to look at it and adopt a more AI first approach. Having said that, still looking at testing different parts of the organisation just to try whether it's in claims, to your point, in underwriting, or whether it be more at the front end distribution side of things. So I think that's part of the reason why I think they're a bit slower to adapt to AI on a more enterprise-wide level than maybe other industries who take a more kind of proactive approach to it.
So let me ask you a couple of follow-up questions. The first one is that cautiousness in regulated industry absolutely makes sense. To what extent is that hesitation creative a competitive disadvantage, potentially? And to what extent is culture part of that challenge?
I think culture is a huge part of it. I really do. I think many of the insurers as well can be quite siloed in their approach, and I'd almost split that into front-end distribution side of things, not necessarily always as well connected to the claims and some of the underwriting side of things. So I think that creates a little bit of a more segmented approach, more kind of, well, we'll try in claims, or we'll do something in underwriting, or maybe we'll do something from a front-end perspective. So I think that creates an environment where people are doing more test and learn within their specific areas, rather than from an enterprise-wide kind of perspective. So I think that's part of the reason why it's been approached in that way. And also, we shouldn't forget that the regulators are on a bit of a journey as well.
Of course.
The FCA and the Financial Ombudsman, I think, can see the opportunities that AI can deliver into the industry, but they're also naturally quite cautious as well, and wanting to look to see that the insurers have got robust governance in place, really good strong disciplines to make sure that there aren't unintended consequences associated with AI for the customer in particular, and for the firm more broadly.
So let me just follow up with something that you've just triggered in my mind, which is I'm currently looking at what does it mean human in the loop? And clearly that's a big topic, and that's evolving in itself. But you've talked about AI and ensuring that we do what's right by the customer. What does that human in the loop, and how important is that within the insurance industry?
I think it's really absolutely critical, particularly in certain areas anyway, such as underwriting and claims, to make sure that ultimately we're doing the right thing. Consumer duty in the UK is a huge thing, and there's nervousness around robotic-based decisions. Will they ultimately deliver good outcomes for customers? And how do we make sure that we've got the right level of oversight from a human perspective to look at, say, individual cases and decisions that are being taken through AI ultimately will result in delivering good outcomes for customers. So I think that's where the human in the loop is really, really important, I think, particularly from a customer's perspective.